everyone, and welcome back to Horse Center. Back for another night, hopefully free of technical difficulties. I'm Wild Jamie, and my amazing co-host Swiss Army Sean is here with me. And our special guest tonight is our first ever Clerk of Scales. He's actually done everything on the track, but currently Clerk of Scales at Presque Isle Downs. Welcome, Danny Hamilton.
Thank you.
No, thank you for being here. We know that you are a busy man. We actually caught you driving home right as we were getting this broadcast started. So we appreciate you taking the time out to be with us tonight. So Danny, let's start from the very beginning. How did you get your start in horse racing?
Well, Jamie, I grew up in the horse racing business. My dad had quarter horses and thoroughbreds, and your family was involved. I know the Braggs very well since I was a child. And so Phil Reed and Connie Reed and all those people were in quarter horses. And then when I was a child, they switched over to thoroughbreds and we went to Beulah Park. So, for me, I knew at like 8 years old that I would be in the horse racing business forever. I just didn't know what aspect I would be in the horse racing business.
I guess that's why you tried it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I've pretty much done everything but be a jockey, an outrider, and work on the gate crew.
There you go. And that reminds me, actually, my mom wanted me to tell you hello. She had so many wonderful things to say about you. I called her and she's probably watching right now. I said, Mom, we're going to have Danny Hamilton on tonight. And she was like, oh, he's so great. So she says
Wow.
hello.
Tell your mother I said hello too. I love her.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay. So speaking of all of these things that you've done, can you just briefly list all of the jobs that you have had on the racetrack? I don't know if we have enough time for this. It's, we try to limit it to half an hour here, but let's see if we can do it.
Well, like I said, I started. Phil Reed taught me, Phil, and he taught me how to gallop horses on the farm, and I learned to gallop. And then when I graduated high school, naturally my dad had horses, so I learned how to be a groom. And every summer I would go to Delaware Park where my stepdad rode, and my mom run the Jock's Room Kitchen. So I ended up getting a job there for a very exclusive, very, very important outfit called the Black Chip Stable, and it was owned by Bill Allen, and he had won the Breeders' Cup with Wild again. So I called my dad up and begged him to quit school, and that didn't work out for me. So I just kept on plugging away, and I went back to Beulah Park, and then me and a good friend of mine, Jimmy McNerney, he was working in the racing office. I worked for the veterinarian, Dr. Nelson, and we both quit our jobs and became jocks agent and run through that. And then I trained horses. And then I went into the racing office. I started as the silks guy in the Jock's Room, became the Jock's Room custodian, to the horse identifier, to the paddock judge, to a placing judge, to the Clerk of Scales. And then I went to Stewart School. And then in 2019, I had an opportunity to go to the Ohio State Racing Commission as an inspector/investigator. And I did that with a great steward named Daryl Parker that taught me a lot. And then I was going to Colonial this summer. I go to Oaklawn every winter and I work for them. And I'm what they call an integrity officer/state safety steward, where we make sure everybody is following the rules, and we work coincide with the outriders, the stewards, and security. We do everything from human drug testing to horse hair sampling, barn searches, and we run a tight ship there at Oaklawn. And so I got an offer to go to Colonial, and then Alan Clever was having a situation going on, so I had the opportunity to become the Clerk of Scales, which I always wanted to do because my stepdad rode all those years. My mom ran the Jock's Room Kitchen, so I was always in the Jock's Room, and the camaraderie in there is amazing. So I got the opportunity to become a Clerk of Scales, and here we are.
Wonderful. Yeah, you're bringing up so many awesome familiar names because, everyone on the show knows I talk about it all the time. I'm a Beulah Park graduate myself, so very, very proud of those connections, and that's really cool. And I have to say that all of the guys at Presque Isle speak very highly of you. My husband rides there, and many of my close friends ride there, and they absolutely love you working in the room there. It's just a really great kind of ship that you're running there at Presque Isle, in addition to all those other things that you've done. So good on you. And
Thank you.
please explain, because we have a lot of viewers who aren't really in the business per se. They're more, handicapping side of it, whatnot. What exactly does a clerk of scales do?
Okay, for example, that we'll start in the morning time. I get there first, and I put a board up with each race individually cut out. If it's 1 through 10, 1 through 6, whatever. And each ballot has a number. And at Presque Isle, we have 8 ballots. So there's 8. We mark the numbers down on the board. Greg Walsh, one of the ballots there, takes care of that for me. And so the ballots go through their round of numbers and they take care of the riders. And then on my end of the deals, so I have a jockey in today, and it lists every rider that's riding there the day and what their weight is. And so my job is, and they have, due to the fact we have 3 o'clock post, we have at 2 o'clock, you have to report your weight. So that gives the jocks time to get in the hot box. Some riders like to jog. Some go to the fitness centers and do their workout and lose their weight. Or some are just light and they don't have to do all that. But their job is to do their weight. It's just like wrestling. If you wrestle at 115, you got to do 115. And these guys are very professional at Presque Isle. I have no bad apples there. They're just a great group of jockeys. And those weights are assigned to the racing office, the way the racing secretary writes the condition book and the horses. So you might ride one horse at 116 pounds this race and one at 124 next race. So, they have time to report their weight and say that they've worked hard all day and they can only do 117, and that's what their tag. Then they're 1 pound over, and they report that to me at 2 o'clock. And then my job is to report it to the stewards, the board of stewards, and then I report it to the head person of mutuals, which is Tammy, and then she puts it on the screen for all the handicappers to be able to see, well, this horse is +1, or there's a rider change on number 5. So that is my job. It's my job to make sure the riders are in the paddock at what time the stewards want. Basically here, unless it's extremely hot, it's always they want the riders in the paddock at 10 minutes till post. They give them 2 minutes to talk to the trainer, and then they get legged up and go out onto the track. With 2-year-olds, we do 7 and 5 here at Presque Isle. So the riders have to be in this paddock at 7 minutes, and then they go out onto the track at 5 minutes. So we run a very tight ship here at Presque Isle. It's a real pleasure to work there.
Awesome. And how are you doing tonight, Sean?
I'm doing great. So that's interesting with the weight thing too. I always wondered, because you weigh them out as well, correct?
Well, it's called weighing out when they go to the paddock, and it's weighing in when they come back from the races.
Oh, okay. So what happens if somebody's weight is, because we never hear about it like a DQ or something, what happens if the weight is off and it's not supposed to be what it is coming back?
Well, then we have real problems. And then the racing commission gets involved, and then stuff gets really real. But we don't have that problem. All the riders come back heavier than what they went out. So if you go out at 124, chances are you're going to come back in at 126 to 127, because the saddle towel, the pad, the horse is sweating. It soaks up into the pad. It soaks into the saddle towel. Not at Presque Isle as much as a natural racetrack, a dirt racetrack, but on a muddy day and all that mud gets on the saddle towel, it weighs a lot. So if they come back lighter than they went out, major problem. If they come back heavier, you're good to go.
Okay.
Good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the heavier doesn't matter. It's just less.
Yes, exactly. So if you weigh out of the room at 124, when you come back, you're going to be 126, 128 without a shadow of a doubt. That's just horse sweat. The chamois sucks up sweat off their body that they use for the saddle. The girths get mud on them. They get even at Presque Isle, they get the tapeta stuck on the girths and stuff. So that's all weight. Everything is weight. So they come back heavier than they went out.
Has HISA changed your job at all, or any aspects to it?
What's that?
Has HISA changed any aspect of your job, or?
Well, yeah, for me, I'm a true horseman, a true racetrack person, I do not like the fact of the 6 whips. We had to give in to Heisa with the Ramon Dominguez whip, which was a very hard-hitting jockey when he rode. And I just don't like the fact that they tell him 6 whips. For me, if you're called the Horse Racing Integrity Safety Act, integrity is, if I'm a gambler, and I think I speak for people, which I'm not a gambler, I have probably bet $50 in my entire life in horse racing. These people bet their money. They want to see the jockey whipping when their money's down. So to
Right.
me, and we're using a prop on the end of the riding crop that is soft. You can hit yourself with it as hard as you want. It don't hurt you. It makes a noise, but it does not hurt a horse. And I don't think the 6 whip rule should be in effect. I think that I understand what Heisa's saying about the public perception of whipping, but to me, 6 whips is very hard in 3/4 of a mile. And you take a young rider, we'll just use Martina Rojas, for example, because she's an apprentice rider, and we know her here at Presque Isle. Now, she's probably rode less than 100 horses. I don't know her exact stats, but you got all this stuff going through your mind. Things are moving fast and hard. You don't want to put yourself in a bad position. You got experienced riders putting pressure here and pressure there. The last thing you are doing is counting whips. You're just trying to ride and learn. And an experienced journeyman, that's not a problem. But so for me, Heisa's caused a little problems in that scenario for me. Because I think if I bet on a horse and 2 jumps for the wire, maybe 3 jumps for the wire, the horse switches to the left lead and I'm out of whips. But if I hit this horse one more time, he's going to switch back to his right lead and surge back by that horse. And the person that bet $20, $5, $1,000 gets his money. And when you can hit the horse because you get fined, you get a day's suspension. To me, that's more defrauding the public than helping horse racing. But that's just my opinion.
No, I 100% agree. Now, is that something you get involved with and help with those stewards and stuff? No.
Now that does not happen at here, as my job is the clerk of scales. I do get involved with some of that stuff at Oaklawn, but not here. As the clerk of scales, that has nothing to do with me. The stewards control all of that.
Gotcha. We've got a comment here from Willie Martinez. Like I said, you've got the respect of all the guys in the room there. Danny, you're the best. Make sure you come back Monday in one piece.
I'll be there.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so what is the hardest part of your job as the clerk of scales?
Really, there's really no part that's really hard for me because I grew up in the room and I understand it all. I could see where it would be very confusing for someone. So when I first started, in my first time being the clerk of scales, I had to get to know the riders, know what their weight was on a daily basis, their saddles, and we've got it down now. We're in the middle of July. I've got it down. I know small saddles for a guy that's, and we have to, here at Presque Isle, it's completely different than anywhere in the United States other than the state of Pennsylvania. When the horses are running and the top 4 horses where they pay only come back and weigh back in. Here at Presque Isle, we have to weigh all the riders back in. Everybody in the race has to come back in and weigh after the races. So that's a little different than any place else. And we have to weigh out. We have a camera. Sometimes we have racing commission and investigators that are there checking the weights. So we run a very tight ship here. Got awesome jockeys that do their weight. And like I said, it's just a wonderful job. But that is probably the most difficult part, is getting all the guys to get in and get weighed out and get the ballots out the door to the paddock to get the horses saddled to keep the stewards happy. So, you know,
Right.
that is my responsibility. And the guys, the ballots are amazing. They work their butts off, and the riders work very hard for me to get on time. And it's hard, you know, they come back, they've had a bad they had a bad ride or whatever, you know, their horse didn't run good, the trainer got upset, whatever, you know, it's hot, you know, so they're getting rushed too. So it's, but we all work in harmony. We try to get it done, and we do it pretty good. We're a pretty good team.
I have to admit, I contribute to the problem because I'm always over there like, hey, hi, come here, babe, come give me a kiss real quick. Like, he's like, I gotta go.
Right,
I'm riding the next race. Yeah. Sorry about that.
And Willie likes to talk to the kids and stuff, give them
Yes.
goggles and stuff.
Yeah. He does. Yeah. He's a lingerer.
Is there a time limit with that on how long they have till they have to weigh in after the race?
Yes. So see what happens is here, like today, we were on top of Saratoga, so we had to shave minutes off of each race, so they would be running and be done before we went in the gate. So those people would wager on our races also, and so we had to speed up the time. So, you know, rider comes back, he's watching the race. You look at the clock, we're at 19 minutes. These guys got to be out in the paddock at 10 minutes. So that's 9 minutes. They got to get their tack together. They got to wash their face. They got to put a new set of silks on, a different helmet cover, a different arm number. Then they got to get out to me. I sit in another room with a scale under a camera. They jump up on the scale. They weigh out. Then the ballots got to get their saddles ready, and then they got to get out there. And that all has to happen in 13 minutes. So from when we got back today, it was 19 minutes. So they had 6 minutes for the ballots to get out. And then we had another additional 3 minutes. And then the riders had to go to the track. So when you do this back to back to back to back, 8 races in a row, it's not always easy flow, but it works. We get it done. Sometimes there's a little hollering going on or whatever.
Well, and kudos to Presque Isle Downs too for that, because nothing worse than a better hates than 2 tracks running on top of each other the whole card, and it happens quite often.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Tammy, the head of our mutual department, and she calls the stewards call me, and we work on that and try to get off of that so we don't run on top of each other. And that's, you know, I understand the whole business. My dream job is to be the director of racing somewhere someday, because I understand all the aspects, and I've taught myself to learn the business side of it, of the gambling part, and watching the money flow and all that. So that's my dream job in the future. But right now, I'm happy with where I'm at.
Very cool. I've got a funny question actually from my mother, because I called her and told her you were on the show tonight, since I know that she's a big fan of yours. She wants to know who breaks up fights in the jockey's room. Well, is that you?
That would be me. But so far here, you know, we haven't had that situation.
You better knock on wood.
Yeah. But, you know, here's the situation. This is, when you're a jockey, you're in a very dangerous sport. Not many people have a job or an ambulance chases you around, that follows you all through your job. So when bumping and grinding and maybe a bad decision on one person's part of dropping in or moving out or switching sticks or whatever it may be, tempers fly. And back when I was a kid and first became a ballot, when I was 18, 19 years old at Beulah Park, there was no such thing as a casino. It didn't happen. So a good jockeyroom custodian, he'd take his suit jacket off and say, "You two boys get in the middle of the room and everybody stay out of it. And you got 30 seconds to decide this, and it's over." Now the casinos take over. We have HR departments. There cannot be no physical altercations, because you could lose your job. You could get ejected from the property. You wouldn't have that job. So when you get upset, you talk about it, you scream at each other, but no fists need to be thrown, because that causes a lot of issues with casinos. They have they have their rules and their laws. So it's a whole different game at a casino run racetrack.
So how many of those have you seen? And were there any comical fights before all this?
Yes,
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I've seen some great ones. I've seen a jockey at Beulah Park knock a trainer out.
Oh, I missed that one.
Oh, you know the players in it, but I don't want to. I ain't going to put their names out there.
Oh yeah.
In Delaware Park, I've seen some great fights. I've seen some great fights at Canterbury back when I was a ballot there in '96. So I've seen a lot of good little boxing matches. And remember,
yeah.
Jamie, at Beulah Park, we used to have the jockeys box each other in the paddock.
That's true. That's true. The jockey boxing. I almost forgot.
Not only good entertainment, but they got their ups and downs that worked out of them.
Yeah, they got their feelings out there. I think the jockey boxing should be mandatory at every track. That was so much fun.
1,000% it should be.
There is nothing better than seeing 200-pound men just really going at it like, the most entertaining night of the year every year. I'm very sad they don't have it anymore.
I know, that's crazy. I wish they did, because that would be a big seller to people.
No kidding. Okay. And then, so what goes on in between the races? I mean, it sounds like you guys are really busy at Presque Isle, kind of back to back there, but your experience working in the room other times also as a ballot and the other things that you've done, what are people doing? Are they playing cards, playing dominoes, just relaxing?
No, a rider might have a couple races off and they have a little room where they'll sit on the couch, but they're watching races. They're looking at their program. They're watching the previous races of horses running and studying what they might do to make this horse win the race that they're fixing to ride. So, everybody at that time, it's your job. You're busy. You're in your business. You're in your moment. And that's what they do. They're, when the races are over, yes, we have a good time. Prior to the races beginning, yes, we're laughing and joking and having a good time, because that's what we do. There is nothing in life like the camaraderie of a jock's room. If you ain't been in it, you don't understand it. And those guys are, what I want to say, they're a band of brothers and sisters. They can be mad as a hornet at each other, but they stand up for each other at the same time. They're like brothers and sisters, and that's just the way it is. And if one gets hurt, they all are concerned. They all donate money. They go out of their way for each other. And so, yes, tempers fly. It's going to happen. It's human. It's just human, being human. And when your life's in that situation, you're a 115-pound guy or girl, you're riding a 1,000-pound animal at 40 mile an hour. Things can go awry and pressure gets to you, and you might be having a bad day because one of the big outfits might have fired you or screamed at you or whatever. Well, tempers fly, and hey, you get over it, you turn the page and move forward.
Yes. I've got to catch up on a few comments real quick here, because we've got a bunch of great ones coming in. From Grandma Horse Racing, the track seems to run smoothly from a streaming side. And from Ashley Jane Phillips, our wonderful photographer there, Danny's got it all under control. You're getting lots of praise here. And from John De Silva, Sean could vouch for what I have done at parks. When you become director of racing, hire me. So you've already got people looking for a job here. And this is a great one. Couple of girls out there that can fight as well. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Girl fights are great. I watched Paula Bacon and Jerry Nichols Toops get in a fight, and there was blonde hair flying everywhere.
Oh no! Oh, I wish that we had you on before Paula. We're gonna have Paula back on now, Sean, because now we're gonna have to.
There we go. Half-hour show on the fight.
Yes. Did anyone get it on video? This is before everyone had a cell phone, unfortunately.
Right. Absolutely. Way before cell phones. We have a couple of girl riders at Oaklawn, and there's a young lady named Chelsea Bailey that rode at Indiana Grand in Oaklawn, and I think she does the MMA fighting. So I wouldn't want to mess with her.
No, I'm letting her go.
We've had her on the show. You definitely don't know. I'm not messing with her.
Oh yeah, she's a good, wonderful human.
Yes. Wonderful human, but I would not be doing jockey boxing against her. That's for sure. I'd be like, give me the other girl.
a matter of fact, when we had her on, I think she was at some like Starbucks or something like that, and they were kind of closing around her or anything. She didn't flinch at all. Nobody was kicking her out.
No. That's great.
And we've got a very funny comment here from Grandma Horse Racing. Which jockey has the best hair care products? Do you have any idea on that one?
Probably Pablo Morales.
I can see that. Pablo, he's getting a little shaggy these days.
Well, you know, he's got the Fabio look going on now.
He does. I think most of the other guys there are getting their hair cut every other week. But Pablo, I'm like, okay, all right, go for it. You're pulling it off.
Right. And Villa Gomez, he was getting his hair cut the other day, and I walked in, and Gadiel Martinez was giving him a haircut. And I said, and Shorty was about to cry, and I promised him I'd get him ice cream if he got through his haircut without crying.
All right. Okay. So you've got the babysitter aspect down as well. Got it.
Correct.
Is there a part of when you're not race days, do you have a part of your job that you do, or you don't have to do anything on the non-race days?
No. I take entries. I got a few trainers that call me specifically, and I take their entries for them every day. I work in a racing office. I help with the draw. I do help do the proofing, what they call smoking the overnight. I do that. I do anything that I can help with the racing office. I filled in 3 or 4 times as the clocker to help them out at Presque Isle due to people had to be off of work and everywhere is short staff. So Presque Isle gave me, got me a hotel room, and I stayed overnight so I could be there to be the clocker. I'd done that previous years before at Mahoney Valley Race Course when I was the identifier and the paddock judge there. I was the clocker also. So I fill in for the clocker if they need me. I can kind of I've had enough experience in the racing office that I can kind of jump in and try to help do the best I can because I know the job. So I do that stuff too. So,
well, that's a good question. And it's 2023 and we still have clocking issues, not saying Presque Isle, just all over the place with tracks. How does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. I knew previously what happened at Penn National and places of that nature, and all over the country, not picking on them at all. But, I honestly don't know how that works. I'm not that way. I never have been that way. I'm a very fair person. I'm an honest person. I love the horse racing game. So I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And I don't think it happens that much. I think a lot of things get blown out of proportion, and then it becomes social media, and then it, the way it rolls, and then it don't really is maybe or might not be true, So, but being a clocker is a challenging job at Mahoney. During COVID, when we suspended racing in the state of Ohio, we went 75 days with no racing. So they were getting ready to open up racing. We were all stuck at Mahoney Valley, which is owned by Penn Gaming. The Ohio State Racing Commission rules had said a horse had to have 2 works for 60 days. So then everybody's off 75 days. The barn area is full. Everybody's trapped there. So Penn Gaming had all their employees furloughed other than 3 supervisor security guards that just stayed in the casino. There was no employees there. So Penn Gaming and the Racing Commission come together, and they due to the fact I did work for the Racing Commission at the time, and I was a previous employee of Penn Gaming. They allowed me to be the clocker there, and so like one day I had 168 horses by myself.
Wow.
And thank goodness that everybody had my cell phone number, so they would text me the horse's name. And I had shorthand. It looked like Hebrew, but I got it done. And then I'd come home because I didn't have no computer access at Mahoney. So I'd come home and get on my iPad. Equibase gave me a password to get in. And then I would sit here for 2 or 3 hours putting all those works in and got everybody up. And then once we started Thistle Downs, everybody had their 2 works, and we went on to start racing. So
wow.
A clocker is a very important person in the game.
Yeah, that's intense. All right.
So that's another, when I go to these tracks and I'm doing social media for TVG, everybody says, 12 races and they have a half hour in between or whatever. It's so long. And I'm like, man, I feel like 2 hours. Everything you're describing, your job from like race 1 to race 8 must feel like 15 minutes because you're just constantly flying around.
Yes, absolutely. It's a different gig at Presque Isle compared to Oakland. So when we have the Arkansas Derby, the Rebel, the Apple Blossom, those are very big things. We take a lot more time in those races because we have interviews with trainers on television. We have interviews with riders prior to that. At Oakland, I'm using Oakland because I work there. They take the horses into the infield. We get them saddled at 19 minutes. We send them out, then send the jocks out. Then the owners have an opportunity to talk to whatever rider they may have on their horses, and then they do a nice big fancy post parade. So yes, that is a different deal. We do it here at Presque Isle when the Masters come to town. We have media there, we have TVG there, we have big name trainers there, riders. Our local riders usually ride a lot of the bigger races here at Presque Isle because they're all top-notch riders. This place, Presque Isle, has some of the best riders there is for this level of racing. These guys, there's no doubt that Willie's been there. He knows the play. Gallardo, what'd he do? He win 5 races opening weekend at Colonial.
Right.
You just go on. Before I ever came here, you guys had at Presque Isle, you had Mario Pino. It just goes on and on. So you're dealing with a lot of professional riders here that at this level of racing that could probably just go about anywhere they wanted to and do pretty daggone good.
Well, we've got a few comments that I want to catch up on here. So from Terry Hay, sorry guys, my internet is still not quite up to par here. Can you guys hear me? Because now my computer's not working. All right, well, I'll just tell you guys the comments. Terry Hay says, great guest and very informative. And Grandma Horse Racing says, this is why I love the HRT team. I get to learn about all these wonderful people who keep the track running smoothly and safely. I could not say it better, Danny. You are just...
Oh, she's gone. So internet issues again.
She's gone. She'll be back.
She should be. Definitely should be back. You brought up Penn National, and my brother and I actually commented on this when we were at Penn National. We've been going to Penn all our life. Where's the scale location at Presque Isle compared to like the winner's circle?
Okay, it's right at the edge of the. Most racing commissions. It's a rule that all scale houses with the scale must be in public view adjacent to the grandstands. So that way all the bettors can know that rider was doing the proper weight. So I'm right at the winner's circle, right at the finish line. The scale house sits right beside the winner's circle. So when the riders get off, they all come right in there to me. And that's par for the course pretty much nationwide.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because Penn National with the big night, they had to get the jockey off the horse. He had to run, get weighed, and then come back and take the picture.
Yeah, see, they do that at Mahoney Valley Racecourse also. They don't have a scale in their winner's circle. They have to go inside the jock's room and then come back. I didn't know Penn National was that way. I only knew Mahoney Valley was that way, but nationwide, the scale house sits right in the winner's circle.
Yeah, because we were just commenting on it was a lot for the jockeys, doing all that. But so she's crashed, and I don't know if she's going to be back or not. I don't have all the controls, but we'll do the best we can.
Absolutely.
So, and you've touched on this a little bit, but for the viewers as well, what are some of your hobbies outside of horse racing?
Horse racing. I'll watch golf. I don't watch much. I like college football. But I like watching golf once in a while. But 98% of the time, if I'm even watching TV, I'm watching horse racing. That's what I do. That's how I make my living. I love it. I like watching riders all over the country. That's the jock's agent in me. I like watching young horses train, and that's the trainer in me. So for me, it's all about horse racing all the time. That I'm pretty much talking about it or doing it, horse racing every day of my life, and I love it. I like I said, I knew when I was a child what I would do for the rest of my life, just because I loved it that much. It's my passion, so this is what I love to do.
Has there ever been any track, just as a fan or working, that you haven't got to yet that you would love to visit?
What's that?
Is there a track out there that you would love to visit as just a fan or worker that you haven't visited yet?
No, I guess Del Mar. I've never been to California. I would say Del Mar. I don't really care too much if I ever went to Santa Anita, but I'd like to go to Del Mar. I've been to Saratoga. I've been to Rockingham. I've been to Salt Peak. I've been to Delaware, Atlantic City, Garden State, Aqueduct. I love Aqueduct. I love the Meadowlands. Back when I was a kid, going to the Meadowlands at night, that was wonderful stuff. Good horses, big crowds, just good stuff. Garden State was amazing. Atlantic City was wonderful. The turf course was just off the chart. Delaware was an amazing thing. Back when Philadelphia Park, which is now Parks, was Philadelphia, I used to go there. So I was very fortunate. Birmingham was an amazing place. Gulfstream, I went to Tampa. And then I found out about Gulfstream, and I had the opportunity to go to work for Billy Mont. And I worked for him for a while during 95, 96, while we had Cigar, Jerry, Wakiva Springs. So I've had an amazing career to get where I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever get into the harness, even as a fan? Did you ever get into the harness thing?
Well, believe this or not, when I was a child, when I was a kid and then started galloping horses for my dad at the farm, our neighbors, well, I say their neighbors, they lived about 5 miles down the road. My dad worked at International Harvester, and that's a big factory, and so didn't Bob long ago, and he was a harness trainer. So I went down and on my days off, and I would jog horses on the sulky for him. And his daughter became a veterinarian. Her name was Karen Longo. And back in the day when I was in high school, I would ride with Karen. She would take horses to Latonia, which was Turfway Park now. And they used to run harness racing during the summer. And I got to go down there and watch a couple of their horses run, be in the paddock, be in the winner's circle. They had one that won. And so I got to be in part of that. I did, but so I do have a little very minimal knowledge of harness racing, but I enjoy it. It's horse racing, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some of them like Meadowlands, like those kind of harness racing I like, and then you got the other ones like Northfield. I'm kind of like, I don't really care for those.
Yeah, but Northfield's great. When I worked for the Ohio State Racing Commission, I went over there a few times. It was absolutely great. The home of the flying churns. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I can't look at a program and tell you one thing about it or what it means, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And those they really, really quick post times and a lot more races too. Double.
Well, yeah, they have that. And then you take a guy, and I met that Aaron Merriman. He was a driver that won 1,000 races in a year for like 3 years in a row, this guy. And so I got to meet him. That's my big highlight of harness race.
Yeah, we haven't had one on yet, but I've thought about reaching out to some. I've reached out to T-Trick and stuff. We'll see about that in the future. So one other thing, since you're passionate like us about horse racing, what would you like horse racing to do to preserve the future? There's definitely things out there that we can do a lot better.
Oh, yes. I'm going to tell you this just because of my job and the situations I'm in and working for the Racing Commission and different things and being tight-knit with some stewards. Look here, 99.9% of horses are well taken care of. Yes, there's always a bad apple. If you take the amount of horses that run in the nation to the catastrophic breakdowns on the racetrack, it is extremely minimal. We have 330 million Americans live in America. 45,000 American people die a year by going to the doctor's office and getting a shot. They have anaphylactic shock. So if you break down the percentage of that, that is minimal. It sounds like a lot, but it's very minimal. It's the same in horse racing. It's not all bad. It's not all bad. Yes, the thing, what happened at Churchill this spring was a very unfortunate thing. Do I think some of the causes was maybe HISA with the shoes, no toe grabs? I'm not going to say yes or no, but that has changed. Um, do I think the horses have changed? Absolutely not. People say, well, they breed speed to speed and their bones get thinner. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Um, and like I said, 99% of your horsemen would rather go hungry than their horse to go hungry. Yes, you always have a bad apple. A lot of bad tests that the Pollock report and all those people jump on and put out there. Contamination is a real thing. You don't know who comes in your barn sometimes. You don't know what your groom might be doing. You know, a trainer is at very high risk because at the end of the day, whatever goes wrong, it's trainer responsibility. I think the worst thing about our business is HISA in this aspect that we are going to take money from an owner, a person that pays the bills, the person that stands on the side, that owns these horses for he or she's personal pleasure, and their jockey does something, and then the HISA is going to punish the owner. Well, that's not good at all. I just think that's a very, very, very bad thing about the HISA. I see some of their good points. I absolutely do. I got the opportunity to meet Liz Lazarus at Oaklawn Park, and we had and what they call Dawn at Oaklawn, and Liz Lazarus was the special guest there, and she was open for comments from everybody, and I got to sit there and listen to what she said. Do I think Liz Lazarus is a bad person? Absolutely not. I just think this thing was pushed through by the wrong people. I think we needed more horsemen on the board, more veterinarians on the board, and HISA could have worked in the right way. And I think they'll change. I think in the next few years, as they come to terms with things and Liz Lazarus was open to that, to make some changes in the rules to be more logical than so far out that it's, overreach. High woo, with their, I think every horseman nationwide wanted a nationwide testing, where everybody is on the same playing field. I believe that's 1000%. And so on that aspect of it, that part is not all bad. But they got some, like I said, they're 99.9% of horsemen are wonderful people that do the right thing for their animals. And in any business, whether it's race cars, bicycle racing, whatever, you're always going to have a bad apple. But that don't mean everybody's bad.
Absolutely. And Rich and I used to talk about when we would cover the news when we first started Horse Center. Why can't horse racing do what every other sport does or every other thing do? Copy New York, Kentucky, all the tracks that are the bigger tracks, copy all the rules the same and make it a universal thing and do it without bringing an outside company in like HISA. And now we've gotten to this point.
Right. And when I speak of this stuff, I'm just telling you my feelings. This is not, everybody's got their own personal thoughts. I think HISA was 1000% unconstitutional. That should have been, it got snuck through on December 28th of 2020. And the only thing that was brought to the people that do the voting is the unemployment. That was the unemployment bill for all the Americans that lost their jobs, shut down, whatever. HISA got stuck in there. It was part of the port. It was no different than the $600 million to Planned Parenthood. That was in the same bill. So it should have went to the floor. It should have got voted on. It should have been investigated by the Congress to make sure these rules were proper. That did not happen. And so that, I think, is what upsets me as much. If we had horsemen on there and we had veterinarians on there that said this is the route we need to go, then I'm all in. If it followed the proper channels, but it did not. And you know it, I know it, Mitch McConnell knows it, plain and simple. And no matter how they break it down, I don't think Heise is going anywhere, but I think they will change because everybody has a different mindset, but everybody here that I know, that I talk to, their thoughts is that Heise's in there. They want to shut these little tracks down, continue to have their gambling and their sports books, but eliminate their racing. But if you think about this, and I'm not sure what year, I think it might have been 06, 07, or maybe 05. The University of, or WVU, West Virginia University, did an economic impact study on just Charlestown and Mountaineer. And it was in the billions what the revenue was. There's no big farms in West Virginia as compared to Kentucky, or maybe even compared to Pennsylvania. So I think these governors, when this comes to play out and they try to shut down these smaller venues and continue to run their slot machines, the horsemen spend a fortune, an absolute fortune, in housing, fuel, motels, dinner, jockeys, same thing. We travel, we pay, we live, we move, and we travel to different venues. So to me, I think that Heise is not going away, but I think the governors will stop this because that's tax money for them also when they look at the big picture of the thing. So I think Heise could have some good impact on horse racing, and I think governors have got to step up and do things. Take a state of Ohio, which I know Heise doesn't have nothing to do with harness horses, but they're trying. There's 7 racetracks in the state of Ohio, 3 thoroughbreds, 4 harness, 78 county fairs that have 3 to 5 days of harness racing. You take all the horses out of that state and see what happens. It'll crash. No different than Kentucky, so and I just see it going that way, but hopefully that never comes to light.
Well, I'm not sure what all I missed, but I just have to touch on this hilarious comment here. I don't know if you guys could see this since I wasn't here. Drive the bus, Sean. You're like Keanu Reeves.
Scott drove it just fine.
Yeah. Hey, after yesterday, I was all good because yesterday we lost you, then we lost the guest. The guest couldn't hear me. I couldn't bring the guest back, so it was all eyes on me, and I couldn't really do much.
Yes. And we've got a lot of agreement here with you. Lots of adjustments are needed with Heise. Yeah. Yep. There's a ton of comments there. We're not going to be able to touch on all of them because I was missing in action for a good 15 minutes there. So let me apologize, but my internet crashed again. So here we are. All right. Well,
and I just been over here rattling on like a diesel engine.
That's perfect. You saved me.
Yes. That makes our job easier. Plus, that's exactly why we have you on here, because we love getting those educated, informed opinions of real horsemen who have been in the industry. I mean, no one's done more in this business than you have. You actually have done even more than I knew about. So I was impressed to hear the things you've added to your resume since I last knew. But yes, that's exactly why we brought you on, Danny. So thank you so much for that. And Sean, is there anything else you wanted to cover before we let him go? We're way over our time here.
Well, I guess the only other question is a simple yes or no or what. You were saying about Clerk of Scales and you were saying about betting, and it's probably just a curious question people have. Are you allowed to bet if you were into betting?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. I figure not, but
no.
When you're a trainer and you have 4 out of 5 horses and you can bet on your horses, who knows what else?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're independent contractors. I work for the association. I work for CDI, and we're not allowed to gamble in their casino. We're not allowed to bet. That's a good policy. That's a really good policy. I agree with that.
And Grandma Horse Racing says, fantastic guest. I could not agree more. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Danny. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but you have been such a wonderful guest and a wealth of information, just literally a treasure trove. So thank you for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you guys for both having me here. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will see you around. We'll have to have you back on.
Okay, I'll do it.
See ya. Oh, well, good job, Sean. Good job driving the bus.
Well, you know, I didn't know what would happen. Maybe we'll have to know for future. If I just end the show, what happens? Because I don't have the button to end the show. So it would just literally just be me. It would just literally be me hitting the X button and getting out. So I don't know what would actually happen.
I don't know. I was thinking that too. I was like, I wonder if I should text Rich. But then when I rebooted my internet, the lights started flickering and I was like, okay, maybe I'll be able to get back in. I just got to be patient. I'm sitting over here like, it's been 12 minutes. Like, oh, so sorry about that. But it's great. I mean, I'm glad we had Danny on tonight because he really kind of.
Audio apps for you.
Okay. Whoops.
Which one do you
I don't know. Okay. We're having all kinds of technical failures tonight. That was Siri. But yes, so luckily we had Danny on who really kind of filled in the gaps there and just kind of kept it going for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was perfect.
Yes. Awesome.
You'll need to continue on your personal device.
We've got a comment here from John DeSilva. Sleep cam with Sean could be interesting. I like that.
Okay. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's an idea worth investigating.
No, apparently I snore and I snore really bad. No.
Oh, well, we'll find out. All right. All right. What else have we got going on, Sean?
All right. So tomorrow it will be Terry and Rich, as far as I know, and it will be Saratoga. So I know they've been Saratoga. It's the second Thursday of Saratoga, so I know they've been covering that. And then next week, I only have Monday scheduled, but we'll announce the rest on social media as well. Monday we'll have jockey Digclan Carroll on. He's been riding at Woodbine, a young jockey that's been around for a few years. He'll be coming on Monday, and then I'll be filling Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'll announce that on social media at Horse Race Today, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, the new threads, a little bit of everywhere. And then obviously two things, same as yesterday. Jockey Survivor starts tomorrow. You got to click that link. I'll put it again. Donate the $10. Everything's going to go to aftercare, and then we start tomorrow. Got to get a jockey in for Saratoga tomorrow. Hopefully he wins for you, and then you go to the next day, and then Friday Saratoga, and then opening day Del Mar. You can pick a jockey from either track. And as long as your jockey keeps winning and you don't reuse the same one, you keep advancing. So working on some cool prizes for that too, some stuff from jockeys. So be a cool contest.
So we are on Threads.
We are on Threads.
Okay.
Sometimes I forget to post everything I post on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Threads too, because it's new. But yeah, we are on Threads.
Okay. All right. Well, I got to check into that. I'm not on Threads. So now I've got another social media I've got to explore.
Well, the good thing with Threads is if you sign up, they'll ask you about you. It's related to Instagram and Facebook. So it will ask you Instagram or whatever, and everything will transfer over.
Oh.
So, for example, when you transfer over, you already follow us. So when you transfer over to Threads, it's going to ask you again if you want to follow, or it's going to automatically do it if you click a certain box. So it's really nice that way.
All right. Very cool. Oh, and we've got a question here. Any specific aftercare? Do we know which organization we're donating to, or is that still kind of in the works?
It's still kind of in the works. We were going to do 2, and we were going to do 50-50. I don't want to get the organization wrong. One that Donna Brothers does is one of them.
Okay.
TAA or TI. I'm not 100% sure which one, but the one with Donna Brothers is definitely 50% of it. And then we're working on the other one as well.
Okay, very cool. And do we have any updates on Andre Ramjeet?
He's home today. Stick up with Julie, and I'll retweet and share what I can too. I know he was walking a little bit, he was eating, so all that's good, and he's home. So he's on the path to recovery. It's going to be a long and hard road, but everything since they've gotten the bad news so far is working in the right direction.
Gotcha.
And I'll share that again too, where we can help with PayPal or GoFundMe. I said, whatever you can donate, whatever you can't, just share, and somebody will. There you go. It is TAA.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, I think we got our bases covered there.
Awesome. All right. Well, so I think, Sean, you pretty much covered all of it, but don't forget to follow, like, subscribe on all the social medias. Horse Race the #2 day. Now we got a new one you can check out, the Threads. So hopefully we will see you there. But one place we definitely want to see you is in the
Winner Circle.
Winner Circle. Good night, everyone.